So I'm here to introduce a very good friend of mine. A little over a year ago, I got a telegram message from this guy. And I'm like, who's this guy? And he says, I'm Bobby Lawrence. And I'm like, who's that? And most of you know Ruby. Ruby's my amazing assistant. And she looks like it. She says, I don't know who that guy is. Block him. I said, don't block him just yet. Hang on a second. So he starts talking. I said, who are you? I'm Bobby Lawrence. I ran for Senate. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I said, is it really you? Because it's Telegram. People fool around, you know. So then he sends me a video message. It's really me. I'm like, okay, what's up? So we just kind of start talking back and forth. And he's telling me about what he does, and I tell him about what I do, and it's parallel. And I was like, this is interesting. I was like, okay. So I expound a little bit more on what I do, and I'm explaining to him about equitable principles and how I take the biblical principles and match them with the law and then execute them on paper. And he thought about it, and we started talking, and then he invited me to an event, and we couldn't make it. And so we didn't completely fall out of contact with each other, but, you know, we went our separate ways for a period of time. And then things kind of got hot earlier this year in Texas, and we kind of came back together, and we started talking again. And he says, you know, Kiki, he goes, I didn't really see it then, but I'm starting to see it now. And I need to say that I'm thankful for Bobby to be able to see what I was trying to show him. And I'm thankful for Bobby teaching me what he knew so that he was able to show me. And now we're able to communicate and show each other and bring that information to you guys and help you with completing your processes, whatever it is that you're working on, and doing that together. And he's just been such an amazing friend. He's been so supportive. I couldn't ask for a better friend. And also, he's an amazing writer. That's a new feature that we just got to see recently, where he's been doing a lot of writing, digging more in depth when it comes down to equity. He surprised me by going into a court in Texas and walking in there and handing out fiduciary assignments to everyone in the office, putting them all into a public servant capacity, that they would serve his needs when he told them what they would be. And they all followed suit. And at the end of the day, as he was telling me what happened, they're calling in on the other line and said, Mr. Lawrence, all of your documents are ready. You can come and pick them up at any time. And so Ruby was with me, and she was like, whoa. She goes, I've never seen anyone with the power of performance other than you. I said, well, now there's two of us. And the other person that has power of performance is amazing Bobby Lawrence. And I wanted to say one more thing before I bring him out. When I brought the information to him about the names and how it actually works, and the fact that the majority of the population has their names diverted into another name, which is a lease, which actually holds your property, and how to fix it, in my opinion, it takes a lot of guts for a man in his position that does so much speaking, that has so many relationships with people all over this country, to stop and sit back and look at it and say, okay, this is the piece that we need, and I'm going to talk to the people, and we're going to move them in this direction so that we can correct it and then go back and complete what we need to complete. So, without further ado, the amazing, great friend of mine, Bobby Lawrence.
All right. All right, all right. Here we go. Yeah! Crank that music up. Crank it, baby. You guys ready for this? We're on a mission. We're on a mission. We're on a mission from God. We're going to come back into full life. We're going to claim our rights. We're going to be free men and women. We're going to put government back in the box where it belongs. claim our inheritance. We're going to get our name written in the book of life. And we're going to love one another and create heaven on earth. Y'all ready? All right. Thank you so much for that generous introduction. Thank each and every one of you for being here. I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself right now at this very moment because the gravity of what we have learned together as a team is beyond words. The importance of what you're about to learn over the next 2 days is the ultimate return to being in full life. It's a high-stakes game. If you travel down this path to fully execute and constitute the private trust, you must complete it. There is no try. It's a very important step. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room, and I'm only going to spend about a minute on it, and we're going to move on. A lot of people, this movement across the country is in flux right now. We were doing 500,000 a week, AORs and passports. And you can find that. That's news. If I found it on Yahoo News. And right now we're down to about 40,000 because people want to know what happened in April in Texas when they arrested David Strait and Bonnie Strait. Okay? So they wanted to shut them up. So they did what they had to do to try and shut them up. And there were two things that were missing. And those two components that were missing is what this young lady brought to our movement. She shared with me that she had been looking for people. She felt like she was the only one out there. Do you still feel that way, honey?
Absolutely not.
We went and how many of you were at Texas at the national convention? Yeah. That was a shocker, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She found out that she wasn't alone, that there were people that thought like we think, and that there was hope in this country, and there was solutions. So those two pieces that we were missing, everything that we've done that David has taught us is in the public. Most of what David has taught us to do in the public happens sua sponte. When you get your name, you make the deposit of consideration, and you fully constitute and execute the trust. In the private, a lot of the steps we're doing in the public happens sua sponte. So remember I told you to bring a device that was internet capable? So what the hell does sua sponte mean? Sua sponte, look it up. Look it up right now. And somebody tell me what it means. Sua sponte. How do you spell it, Kiki? I can't spell. As you all know, I can't spell.
SUASPONTE.
Voluntary, keep reading. That's the first definition. Keep reading. It should tell you somewhere it happens in the background automatically.
Want to give him a microphone?
It indicates that a court has taken notice of an issue on its own motion without prompting or suggestion from either party.
Wow. Hold on. Where's that microphone at?
Yeah.
Here, pass her back that microphone. How do you turn this thing on? Here, take that microphone back to her, hon, and read that. That's exactly what it is. So this is going to be a very intense seminar. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to force you to learn how to do research. Because we can't teach it to you fast enough. Can we, Kiki?
Absolutely not.
So we're going to give you the tools. We're going to give you a Red Bull, and you're going to drink it, and you're going to have wings by the time you leave this room for the weekend. How's that? Is that for a good goal?
That works.
All right, so go ahead and read that, what it means.
Of one's own accord, voluntarily, used to indicate that a court has taken notice of an issue on its own motion without prompting or suggestion from either party.
Now that's forked tongue. What it means is it happens automatically, on its own accord. So a lot of the things that we're doing in the public happens automatically, sua sponte. So that kind of shortens the process and makes it a lot easier because we don't have to argue with the counter trolls at these public offices. Does that sound like it's a good thing? If a lot of the stuff we're doing happens automatically, your right to travel, your land patents, your constitutional rights, your substantive rights, a lot of that stuff happens automatically. So I wanted to break this all down for you this morning of what are the new steps to freedom? What is the steps to getting your name? The first thing is your name, okay? Because our name needs to be written in the book of life and written on a white stone that only we know, and it's private. The second is to do an execution, make a deposit of consideration, and fully constitute the public trust and flip it to private. When you flip it to private is when everything happens sua sponte, and you get all your rights, titles, and interests back. Okay? So, you don't have to stand up if you don't want to the whole time. But I'm going to start put some stuff on the board up here and break down these steps for you. What's going to happen tomorrow and sometime maybe today, because I don't write anything down. I don't script these things except for the music and stuff. But I like to just give to you what my Creator tells me you need. And there's a lot of things going on right now, a lot of questions. So what happened in Texas was a failure to execute, a failure to make the deposit, and a failure to do the assignment. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say about that. Those things, can they happen today? They can happen today. We create our own limitations. We put ourselves in boxes based on many different factors. Confidence, ego, lack of knowledge, lack of discipline, on and on and on and on. I love David Straight. Him and Bonnie has given us a gift, because if that wouldn't have happened, then I wouldn't have had a conversation with her, and the team, all of us, would not be learning on a national footprint like we are right now. So David and Bonnie, what's happening to them, believe it or not, it is biblical, and we are learning from it. David and Bonnie are making an ultimate sacrifice right now to set us completely free. And I love them. That man woke me up, changed my life, and set me on a path that I never could have dreamed of. And I'll always love him, no matter what happens. And I'm here for him at a moment's notice to help him through the final two steps. So is Kiki.
Absolutely.
But they have to be ready they have to be ready to do it. At some point in time, they will be. And we're just going to leave it at that. Now, you guys are going to get the benefit of the sacrifice that David and Bonnie have made and are continuing to make. All right? What happened in Texas? They took Bonnie's house. They took the rental property. They took everything that was in the house. They took David's truck. They took his tractor, all his implements. They took a safe with $500,000 worth of gold, silver, and guns in it. They took all the furniture, all of Bonnie's clothes, all of her jewelry, all of her papers, all of her children's toys, all of her pictures. They ripped her history from her. So when Bonnie does get out of jail, she's got the clothes on her back. How's that for high stakes? Does that mean high stakes? And guess what? They did that to this woman standing here. She paid that ultimate price to learn what she is teaching us. She did the research. She did the study. She put her nose in books. She went in, unafraid, into the belly of the beast. She has walked through the valley of the shadow of death and gotten her name.
written in the book of life. The gravity of what this movement has become, they can't stop us. They truly, I mean truly, can't stop us. Why? Because it's written into their policies, procedures, code statutes, ordinances, consolidated regulations. It's right there for us. It's written in treatises, memorandums of law. It's written in corpus juris secundum, and it's written in the ultimate law, the Bible.
Absolutely.
The more I am in this journey, the more I learn that the Bible is our instruction book. It's a history book. It's an instruction book. It's a foretelling of the future. And everything in our world, in the public world, goes back to that 1611 King James Version Bible. The good and the bad. It's only for those that have eyes to see the truth that shall walk free. And those with the ears to hear shall hear God's word. This is a movement that has become something that I never would have believed it. I never would have believed it. If someone would have told me when I was 20 years old that this was going to be my life. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor for a few questions to try and get some kind of a feeling of where you guys are at, okay? To know how fast I can go, to know where the group is at, and what you need from me. I think I have a pretty good idea of what you need from me, and I'm going to give it to you, but I want to make sure with the group that you get from me what you came here for. I've planned on being here till 7:30. We are going to take breaks. As you know, I like my breaks. Give everybody give your brain a chance to absorb it before I hit you with more. So, do you have microphone still, Justina? No. Okay. So if you would, I'm going to ask a few blanket questions. How many of you have been in the movement longer than a week? How many of you are brand new? Ooh. This is fantastic. How many of you have watched David's videos? Okay, fantastic. This gives me an idea of where we're at. How many of you have sent in an AOR? How many of you have your passport? How many of you have a land patent? Okay, very good, very good. How many of you have your name? Look around the room, baby. Karen, get that microphone over there to Karen. Come on up here, Karen. Karen got recruited in Gettysburg. The first time I had a chance to meet Karen was out in Ohio. Yeah. And we met her, and she was a mess. She cried on my shoulder. She cried on my wife's shoulder. I did. And together, we found, what did we find?
All kinds of stuff.
All kinds of good stuff, wasn't it?
All kinds of stuff.
And then I saw her again at another seminar, and then I saw her at Gettysburg. We showed up at Gettysburg for the national coaches to come together. There was about 35 of us there. Yeah. And we had our own 2-day seminar prior to the Gettysburg seminar. How many of you were at Gettysburg, last Gettysburg seminar we had? Okay. We had a 2-day seminar for just the coaches, the national team, where Kiki taught us, and I kind of helped make it make sense and break it down, and because we weren't caught up to her yet. We still aren't, okay? So we still need to lean on her pretty hard sometimes, and she's always gracious with her time. So she was in the hallway with her husband, and I was so impressed with how far she had come after talking with her for just a few minutes. I said, you need to get your ass in that room with the coaches.
You said exactly that.
And I said exactly that. You need to get your ass in the room with them coaches. And she was the first one to get her name. Now, tell them the story of how you got your name.
Well, it's a long story. You want me to tell the whole thing?
Tell the whole thing.
Give it like 2 or 3 minutes. As long as they're staring at you. As long as they're staring at you, you still got them.
Okay, I can't do it in 3 minutes, but I'll tell you a couple. I'll skip. Let me give you some of the highlights in the beginning. I was a mess because I was adopted, and they jacked with my name from the very beginning.
You mean they would do that?
Oh,
the
yeah.
government would mess.
Well, so when I was born, I have copies of this stuff. I've been told I'll never, ever, ever get another copy, period. But I'm fighting it now, and I'm going to figure it out. But first name, middle name were blank. All I had was a last name. And then I was put up for adoption, and it was changed to proper form, the name that my mother and father who raised me gave me. And then the state changed it into an all capital.
Oh.
So there's that. And through all of this, I meet them in Ohio, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself, because we started learning about all of the things that David teaches, and the name is in there too, right? But it's parse syntax, or however you say it, and what names you use, and married, maiden, whatever.
That's all public.
Right.
The deed of reconveyance is
Right.
public. Yep.
Fast forward, and we ended up doing this. My husband's not here yet, so I'll go ahead and tell you. Don't tell him I told you. But I had no idea who David Lester Straight even was for 9 full months. But I heard it so clearly as I'm standing here. It was as if he spoke it. The Lord told me, don't pay that bill anymore. And I thought, what? Oh, whatever. And I tossed it down on the counter, and I opened another one. He said, don't pay that one either. And I thought, sir, what are you talking about? My only question was, who's going to tell my husband? And this answer I got, I'll take care of it. So 6 full months later, I come in the kitchen, he's opening that bill, which was the mortgage. And I went, here it is. He opened it, and I said, God told me not to pay it. And he went, okay. Well, then, what do we do? I have no idea. Then we went to a meeting, and somebody spoke words over us, and I have it recorded. There were lots of things. And then they said, and the Lord wants you to know that there is prosperity coming. And then he said, no. Let me rephrase that. There is wealth coming that is a covering for future generations. Yeah. 3 months later, I heard of David the first time. And I found him because of this mortgage business. Fast forward again, now I'm fighting my way through all of that, the name, the parse syntax. I meet Bobby and Tia. God love Tia, who helped me so much. Then fast forward again. And I knew we were supposed to be in Gettysburg, but I didn't know why. And I had Elise and some others telling me, I think there's this name thing. I'm like, what? Kiki, who's that? I even reached out to her once, and she said, thanks for reaching out. And I was like, she didn't tell me anything. So I didn't know what in the world was going on. But I knew we were supposed to be in Gettysburg early.
Yep.
I knew it. I had no idea why. We walked in, and I'm standing in the lobby like, well, now what? We're here. I didn't know about this meeting. And he said, get in there. And I looked at my husband, and he said, just like Shark Tank, when they give you what you want, you shake hands and you go. So I jumped in there, and the whole world just busted wide open. Well, we go home. I had a few minutes with her, scheduled some time, and she's talking to us, and she's going to walk us through how to get out from under this other stuff that's now boiled over, right? Because there's a consequence. You don't pay a mortgage, they're coming after you. Yeah. But we're still in our house, and we're keeping it. Just to everybody understand that.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
So we get on with her, and she says, we're going to do this thing. And then she said, wait a minute. How good are you on your feet? And we went, well, we've been living on our feet for 2 years. And she said, well, let's get your name. And then she coached us. And a week later, we went in and did it. As an emergency walk-in, It took us 3 days because we were not leaving without our name. Yeah. We went in the first day, and we prayed our way through it. We had our script. I thought my husband was going to wear me out. I would be doing dishes, and he'd come up and go, excuse me, ma'am, but is this a constitutional court? And to make me do the whole thing. I mean, it was just over and over and over. By the time we went in there, I didn't even know what else to say, which was good. The less, the better, which we learned was super important. So the first day we go in, and we were going to freely, without purchase, completely without denial, and speedily without delay. Okay, Article 1, Section 12 for all you Hoosiers in here.
Yes, ma'am.
And we did it, and the magistrate signed off on our request without purchase, $501. Free, $0.
They had to make a special form just for her.
They did. The county attorney comes running out and says...
Now, wait a minute. I want you to hear that. They had to make a special form. There wasn't any in the state until she made them make one.
That's right.
Well, Sort of, because I said, the county attorney comes running out. She threw our name out, right, just like that. Now, we work together as a team. She said our name, and my husband said, yes, and I said, our name is private.
Yeah.
Just like that. And she shook like this, comes up. She said my first name again. I said, my name is private. And she went, oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were friends. Then she never said it again. Now she starts shaking, this county attorney. The clerk wasn't there that day, which is why they sent her out to get us. Finally, she's telling us, well, you fill out this form and you tell them how much money you make and blah, blah. I said, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not telling them anything, but we're not paying to file either. So then my husband finally said, are you the decision maker? And she said, well, the clerk is the elected official. And he said, good day. And we walked out. While we're walking, she's chasing us saying, well, you could do this or this or this. He turned around once more and said, good day. And then we left. So I said, we will be there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock when they open. We're the first faces they see. We came in, and we went straight into the clerk's office. Now, by then, we already had our approval from the magistrate. No, we didn't yet. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. We came in. We're sitting there in the courthouse in that lobby. This is more than 3 minutes, I'll tell you. But they can't see us from where we were sitting. So the only way that this attorney knew we were there was because somebody had told her, because she couldn't see us. We hear this click, 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 click. She runs around the corner and she says, I just happened to find this other form you can use if you want to submit this instead to the magistrate to get our filing fees. So I knew from looking at it, she had made that for us. She had to have, because it didn't exist, as far as I know.
Yep.
So we filled it out. We wrote it up, and then we went up, and then we went into the clerk's office, and we talked to the clerk this time. And we did the whole, it's a constitutional office thing, and her eye is twitching at us. I'm not making this up. Her eye is twitchy, and she's like, purse face lady. They looked it over and said, this looks fine, go up to the magistrate. We went up, and in 10 minutes later, they walked it out, signed off by the judge. Now we got to go do the other thing. We come down, we file it, and they're looking at each other like, I can't believe they got that. I mean, the magistrate just signed off on it. He didn't even talk to us about it. So then they assign us to a judge. Now we go up to that judge's office. He's not on the property. Our county oversees another county, and he's the presiding judge. So if there's another case, he's the one that goes. So we're like, well, we don't know what to do. His lady said she'll be back after lunch. Well, we didn't really want to wait. We don't know if he's coming back. Equity delayed is equity denied, right? We are not stopping until we get this done. We had just decided. Well, so I'm trying to remember the order of things, because there's one other thing that's really important before we got our name the next morning. The lady was kind of playing with us. I don't know if he's coming back. He should be back after lunch, should, whatever. So in the meantime, we thought, well, we'll go see the circuit judge. So we go down to his floor, and when you walk in off the elevator, there's this big open lobby, and you can see through the glass doors. And he's doing criminal work because he had prisoners all lined up and just running them. So then we went around to the hallway where the office is, and there's another door that's glass, and his office inside there. So then we go and we talk to the lady, and she said, well, let me go ask him. So then we sit down where we're on a bench this way, and we're looking, and we can see him working. He cannot look at his clerk without seeing us. We're in his line of sight. Well, we see a woman walk in there, the one we had just talked to, leaned over and talked with him, and he looked up at us, and my husband gave him this sign. So he sent her out. She said, he'll come talk to you in about 20 minutes. So while we're waiting, we're just watching him, and we're praying the whole time, y'all. You cannot discount the importance of that. We prayed nonstop. This man gets up off the bench, unzips his robe. It was almost like he let us see him do it. He came down off the bench, took it off, went through a back door and came out, shuts the office door. Now we're in the hallway with him alone. And then he told us what to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
He told us what to do.
Yep. You were in camera, in private with the judge. When that happens, you're in equity. The judge is equal to you.
He even sat down at a position lower than us, and we were standing, and he sat down, and he's looking up at us. And he told us what to do. And so we followed, and he even said, through this conversation, he said, this judge, if he said he'll be back, he'll be back. He's a man of his word. So we went back up to go see. We thanked him, shook hands. He wished us well. We go up and we see this other, he ended up not coming back that day, so we had to wait. But in the meantime, these people won't give you information. You have to ask the right questions. Yeah. So I finally, we go up, we're asking, and it's yes or no questions, because they won't fill in the blanks for you. They just won't. Listen for instructions, listen for instructions, listen for instructions. That was another thing. We just beat it and beat it and beat it. Listen for their instructions. Shut your mouth and listen. Yeah. So I asked this woman the right question. Do you mean to tell me that if we give him, because she said one of these things we were asking to waive publication, he said he just needs a little bit more. And I said, so if we give him what he needs with this, he'll sign off on everything? And she went, yes. Okay. So then we go home, and now I'm like, I don't know where to look. I don't know what I'm looking for to give him what he wants. So I texted her, or messaged, or whatever it is, and she said, dig into the statutes. Don't reference the statute, but use their words back at them.
The content of the statute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't in statute, but it was in the Indiana rules on access to court records. That's where I found it. His out. He needed an out so that he could sign off on the publication. So we wrote it out, we used their words back at him, and we put a little bit of some other stuff, the Constitution, but it was short. I mean, we didn't write a whole page, and we wrote it on their form. We went in the next morning and turned it in, and then we waited. We were there before he showed up, because we were there at 8 o'clock. He comes ambling in about 8:30, he sort of glances at us on the way. We didn't even know what he looked like. Glanced at us, went into his office, and I'm looking through the window at the girl, and Mike could kind of see her, and they go into his private office and talk. 20 minutes or so later, he comes out and walks by us again, gives us a nod. That was it. 5 minutes later, his clerk, the lady from the day before, comes out and says, here you go. Get him certified by the clerk. It was just done.
Done. Got her name just that quick. How about that? All right. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, that's the last time you can tell that story to that detail. Once you make the deposit and you do the execution, you can't talk about what happened in private. Okay? It's a no-no. Once you get to that point in the steps. Okay, so
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
Did you ever talk to the judges and the clerks in the hallway outside of the court without their clothing?
In Johnson,
without their robes. Excuse me. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I was just saying. How intimate do you think we got? Yeah. So, in one county,
Yeah.
I did.
What happened?
They agreed that they would accept the bond, that they were the trustee. We just had to make the deposit.
Look at that.
So we're going to dig in a little bit more. I've got a letter I want to share with you, not all of it, but I'm going to break out because I've got the letter loaded up, ready to put on the
Got the
screen.
letter. Okay. The
Okay,
instructions.
so that was in Johnson County. I'm going to go over that a little bit. So in my case, I did a typical Bobby move, and I put too much information in front of the judge in my name. So I wasn't getting anywhere. They were trying to keep me at law, and I didn't realize, because Pennsylvania's a little bit different. They actually separate equity and estates that run separate. Most of the states have merged substantive law, equity, and civil procedures, which is at law. And you have to flip the court. Well, in Pennsylvania, especially in my county, it's a separate court. And I didn't know that. So I'm trying to figure things out. Man, those are some noisy chairs. Y'all got it? Thank you for coming. No, it's okay. Thank you for coming. So anyhow, in my court case, the judge denied me. Said it had no legal significance, had no legal effect, and she used the word legal 3 times. So I'm thinking, okay, so something's wrong. She's saying legal. Legal. And at my original pleading, I didn't use their form because they didn't have any. We were supposed to take a form from a neighboring county, cross it off, boom it, and send it in with the other county after we modified it. I'm like, bullshit. So I just wrote my own. And She denied it the first time, so I dig into what legal means. Legal, legal, legal. Well, that's not equity. That's at law. So I tried to flip the court to equity. And I got denied again. So then I wrote a private letter to both the president judge and the judge that had my case. Well, next I get a visit from 3 deputy sheriffs. And they want to know, first of all, it was very, 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 very favorable, I'll put it that way. So the 3 deputy sheriffs, there was the guy he's gonna win next month. He's gonna be our next sheriff. Great guy. So Ben, he got out. I knew who he was. Hey Ben, how you doing, man? I'm smiling. He's smiling. I followed him in the driveway just as they were pulling in. I said, what brings you guys down here, man? I feel honored. There's 3 of you. You know, I'm smiling, and he's like, no. He said, we're just here to have a conversation with you. I said, great. So he introduced me to the other 2 guys. The other guy was a deputy sheriff, and the other guy was an investigator, a detective. I said, oh, great. I said, well, how long are you guys going to take? He says, as long as it takes. He said, we're just here to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. I said, let's go in the shop and sit down. So my garage is about as big as this room, and I got an office in the corner of it. So we sit down. I got my gun safe over here, all my tools. I got all kinds of toys, guns, and scopes, and ammunition. We're sitting right down in the middle of all of it. And we're just grinning at each other. So we had a 2-hour conversation. Basically what I did was I had a 2-hour seminar with them fellas. I had them looking stuff up on the phone. And they were like, they watched my videos. The detective watched some of my videos that he could find online. He did a little research. They knew I was a United States Senate candidate. They just wanted to make sure that I wasn't absconded, being taken advantage of. And I said, you mean like one of them goofy sovereign citizens? And they all started laughing. And I said, no, that's not what's happening. So I showed them some papers, and their eyeballs got really big. And I said, you have that too that you can claim. And 2 of them are really intrigued. So anyhow, at the end of the 2 hours, I said, what are you going to tell the judge? I said, well, we're not going to tell you exactly what we're going to tell him, but you got your house in order, everything looks like it's, you know what you're doing, you know, there's no problems here. I said, okay, fantastic. So that was the last denial that I got. So the judge, in response to my in-camera private letter, said, well, you got to put this stuff on the record. So, but it's basically what the instructions was find out what you're trying to do in the right court at equity, in equity, not at law. And then Tia, she dug in. She's been digging in for the last 2.5, 3 weeks now. And I think we've got Pennsylvania figured out. So Pennsylvania's, when I get back, that's going to be the first thing. Yep. But these judges give you instructions. Even in a denial, they tell you what you did wrong. In my first denial, she cited the statute, 54, subsection 7, no legal significance, because I wasn't changing the spelling of my name. So guess what? In Pennsylvania, there is no legal significance between your all-capital name and your upper and lowercase. Why? Because you can't get your birth records in the public for 105 years. There's no certificate of live birth. There's no hospital book copy. Now, Tia's got a Pennsylvania birth certificate. I've got a Maryland. So I went and got my hospital book copy in Maryland, and there it is, proper form, proper style. So Tia's got to do a little bit more work to get to where she's at. But it has no legal significance. Why? Because we're dead. It only has equitable interest when you get your proper name, and they don't do that at law. So we discovered Tia has discovered the locks to the keys to unlock the equity side of the court and which court we need to be in. So that's that part. So the second part is the deposit of consideration and what all that stuff means. So these are words that you're not going to know what they are. So what is a deposit and how much is it worth? What's consideration? What's considered consideration? Why do we get our birth certificate double authenticated? Why do we get our name change decrees or name change orders double authenticated? Why do we get things double authenticated? That's to give them full faith and credit. You want to bring my mic down just a little bit there? There you go. So I want you to look up something right now in your phone or your device. And I need to do this with you so I can show the people that are watching online. What that looks like. Let me go in here and shut down this thing. You got me up? Yeah, he's getting me up on there. Okay, so let's go to Bing. And we're going to open a new one. And I'm going to go to history. We just looked this up the other day. In your search bar, I want you to put Title 12 or USC 12, full faith and credit. USC 12 incontestable guarantee, okay? What does that mean? So that's this address is ECFR, which means Electronic Code of Federal Regulations.gov. That doesn't give you what you need because it doesn't break down an easy link so you can go and check. Okay, so go down to Law Cornell. All right, hopefully you can find that link on your device. I'm going to show you why you get things double authenticated. All right, so you click on that link. There's also a full faith and credit clause in the Constitution for the United States of America, and we're going to look at that next, but don't get ahead of yourself. All right? So if we look at this, it says full faith and credit and incontestability of guarantee. Look at these highlighted, these blue things, the words and phrases that are highlighted. So what's a bond? What's a bond issue? What's a guarantee? Verifiable loss of principal, interest and call premium. What does all that stuff mean? This is all legalese. It's all forked tongue, isn't it, Kiki? It's all forked tongue. We got to know what this stuff means.
Absolutely.
This is how you guys can break down. When you're reading about your name decrees and your name orders and how to get them done in your state, they're going to give you instructions. So I just want to show you here, and then I'm going to go to the whiteboard after this. So what is a bond? So let's look at a bond. Click on that, and it's going to tell us what a bond is. Bond means a security in the form of a drawdown bond or a note issued by a qualified issuer, with each advance of funds thereunder bearing interest at an applicable bond rate established by the bond purchaser in accordance with section blah, blah, blah of this part, and sold to the bond purchaser, the proceeds of which will be used for eligible purposes. I got a shadow on my thing here. And which benefit from a guarantee. Okay, so we go back. You can look this up. What's a qualified issuer? You can look that up. What is a drawdown bond? You can look that up. Find these definitions. Who's the bond purchaser? So you see how all these words and phrases that you don't know, dig into them. And you see how easy it is. I highlighted it and it says do a search. So I can do a search. This is how deep you get into reading and breaking down just this paragraph. That's the full section. But there's 2 hours worth of research right there in that one paragraph.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated by this. Don't be intimidated by this stuff. When I say this stuff, don't be intimidated by all these words on the paper because it's all shit made up. Has nothing to do with natural law. And look at it that way. So what is a bond issue? We looked at that, a bond issue. A bond issue means at least $100 million and no more than $1 billion in aggregate principal amount of bonds secured by a single guarantee, Each bond or series of bonds in the bond issue being in the minimum principal amount of at least $10 million. Okay? That's a bond issue. Now, I don't know about you, but when we're looking at the bond market, they don't start out at $10 million, do they?
No.
But guess what? Your birth certificate, if you're over 18 years old, is worth way more than that on the equitable tracing. So anyhow, I won't go down that rabbit hole. So that's a bond issue. So what's a guarantee? So click on what a guarantee is. A guarantee means a guarantee by the grantor pursuant to an agreement to guarantee of the repayment of 100% of the verifiable losses of principal, interest, and call premium. Those three elements are important to comprehend because that's double speak right there. If any, on the corresponding bonds issued as part of a bond issue, each guarantee shall be for a bond issued of at least $100 million plus the related interest and call premiums. So your double authenticated bond is a guarantee, and it is incontestable. Now, how did I get to full faith and credit? What does full faith and credit mean? Full faith is why you get it authenticated, because you have to have, when you execute that bond, when you go in and you make a deposit, you're now the fiduciary, Mr. Clerk, and you're going to assign it to a judge to enforce it, and they become the trustee. Did I get that right?
That's right.
Okay? When you walk in with a double authenticated bond, you're going to give it to the clerk, and they become the fiduciary. And then they're going to assign it to a judge. The judge becomes a trustee. You are the creditor / beneficiary.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. These roles that you are in over this 1 week period are changing constantly based on your assignments and based on where that bond's at, who's been assigned to it, has it been looked at, is it a judicial state? Do you need to know? There's all kinds of things that have to be done in the background. So these roles are changing constantly. So the parse syntax on the public side, that's exactly what it is. It's the public side. But you as the private man or woman are either the settler, the beneficiary, or the creditor.
Yeah.
All right? And I'm going to go over this stuff. Kiki's going to go over a lot of this stuff. The beautiful thing about Kiki and I's relationship is I don't have to guess what she's going to do because everything she does is spot on. And we play off each other without scripting it, without talking about what we're going to cover about. I mean, what we're going to cover when we speak. I mean, it just fits.
It's there.
It's beautiful. So now, faith and credit. Well, what makes that bond worth that much money? Who signed it? Were they authorized to sign it? Were they elected or appointed to that office during that time period that it was created? I have to have faith that this is real and you didn't print it up on your computer. So when you give it to the clerk has to have faith in it. You have to have faith in it when you sign it to him, that it's real. How do they know you just didn't print it up on the computer? Because it has to have coins on it, seals. Kiki's going to talk about seals and how important they are. All right? So now you get the state to authenticate it, put a seal on it, and a cover letter. Then you send it off to the federal level, a Secretary of State in D.C., and they put their cover letter on it and seal. And it says right on it, full faith and credit. And they are attesting that whoever put their name on it was in office and duly authorized to what? To issue that bond. Okay? And now you have faith that it's been properly created. Now, what's credit mean? All debts are of the United States and shall not be questioned. Okay? You are the creditor, not you. The definition of you is one who owes a debt to the United States. And guess what? You're a you until you make that deposit. We the people have never, since the nation's founding, paid the bill for the government that we demand. Never. We started off in deficit. And it's just gotten worse as time goes on. The IRS taxes that we pay is a license for usage and waste. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because that would take 2 weeks to bring you out the other side. Just know this, the taxes do not fund our government. There was no gold or silver. There is now. Thank you, President Trump. 90 million metric tons in April of 2021. Okay, but the new currency's not, the new money is not ready yet. So we're still dealing with the system of debt. So there is no gold or silver. They had to come up with some kind of a way to fund the government that the people demand. And they did that through the usage of land and monetizing your arms and legs as the creditor. Because we create, with our signature, every Federal Reserve note that's out there. So we owe a debt. And when we make that deposit, everything's settled. Right? That's why it's so important that we do this. They want us to come forward. Here's the thing. They are the public trustee in reality. They construe it to make us the fiduciary and trustee to perform by our consent and ignorance of the operation of law. Does that make sense? That makes perfect sense. And we consent to be in that position. And our applications authorizes them to monetize whatever instrument is created from that application, whether it's an application for a cell phone, an application to buy a house, an application to buy a car, an application for your electric bill, an application for your landline. All those applications is essentially a power of attorney. And they use that power of attorney, you as the creditor, authorize them to create securities that are of your minor account. And they operate that account in your absence. Because mom, when she did the birth registration, never aligned a will or a letter of intent to that registration. And your fathers never taught you how to go and claim that minor account before you turned 18. So they have to, there can't be any waste. The Lord commanded us, King James Version 16:11, verse 26. And let us create man, meaning the wombed and the unwombed, in our own image. And let them have dominion over the water and all the fish that swimmeth. Let them have dominion over the air and all the birds that fly. And let them have dominion over the water and all, over the water, the air, and the land. And when it comes to land, it says the cattle, the herbs, the nuts. Let them take dominion over it. Take dominion over it. Be fruitful and multiply. All right, so that's King James Version. This is God's order. W-A-L. W-A-L is God's order of nature. We come out of the water of the womb. We breathe the air, God's breath, and we walk on the land as free men and women. But we have been turned the man turned thee away from God's order and created something called law. Land, air, and water, which is still not law. Okay? We've been turned by the attorneys, the law sayers. The only time that Jesus is violent in the Bible is when he's in the temple and turns over the money changer's table. And then he warns us about lawyers, law sayers. And that's because of this. He warned us that we were going to take God's order and turn thee away from it and create law. They steal our land. They poison our air. And they drown us in debt of the central banking system. And there's remedy out of all of this. You can go two ways. You can go public, which we've all learned about with David's videos, or you can go private, where a lot of the stuff we're doing over here happens sua sponte. Now, is it important to have your land patent, even though your land rights are returned to you? I say yes, even though it's returned to you. When I say you, I mean the man or the woman. I don't mean you owe a debt, because now you've made the deposit. You've settled the accounts. So your land patent in the public still has to be administered because you don't have your rights back. You have to fight the system. You're flailing at the system. And it's all dependent on whether the judge wants to recognize you as having rights or not. You have limited rights. Oh, you're a state national. Okay, so you got a little bit, but we're just still going to look at it. And did you do it right? And did you puke, 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 puke? And you have to be at war with them. And it's their duty to be at war with you. In the private, it happens sua sponte. But if you don't do your land patent, guess what? You're not restoring the founding of our nation. Okay? My mission is to restore those 5 parchments. Okay? And when we restore those 5 parchments in the private, then those 5 parchments become a trust, properly executed. And you, meaning the man and the woman, have all the benefits of it. Now, people, this is what we're trying to do. Okay? People have 2 statuses, period. Your vessel, your thing, your person can have multiple statuses. And what we've all learned about is the public status of our person. You see, me, Bobby Lawrence, I am not a state national, an American state national, a U.S. citizen, a state citizen. My vessel, as it's listed out, my vessel is, my person, my public persona is that. So an ASN is public. You didn't do anything wrong. You just are in the public. And you still can be administered. They can decide if you did your paperwork right. They can decide how you signed your passport. They can decide if or not you're going to be allowed to have limited rights. Ultimately, it all comes down to you knowing your standing and how well you can argue at law as to whether you have your rights. Over here, you can be an ASN, you can be a state citizen, you can be a U.S. citizen, okay? You can be a U.S. national. I'm an American national, a state national, as my vessel. Now, over here, there's only 2 statuses. This is the people. Okay? I'm a people, you're a people. We're all people. And we only have 2 statuses in reality. in law. You have a mother-in-law, son-in-law, father-in-law because it is in reality. We have deeds. If you go to Black's Law 4th edition and you look up the definition of deeds, the second line down says things that have been written down in reality as opposed to legal fiction. The deeds of man, meaning the womb and the unwomb, shall be written down and recorded for time. People test check. As a people, you are either dead or you are alive. This is civiliter mortuus, which I can't spell it. You know how to spell it? I can't spell it.
C-I.
C-I-V-I.
V-I. L-I-T-R.
E-R.
M-O-R.
M-O-R.
T-U-U-S.
T-U-U-S. Civiliter mortuus. Look it up on your phone if you want to, or you can take our word for it. I wanted you to bring your devices so you could look this stuff up. You're going to really need them tomorrow to follow along with Kiki. She's going to be throwing some stuff out there, and she's going to have you looking stuff up so you can see it for yourself, just like I had you look up full faith and credit. The next thing you want to look up, write this down in your notes, is Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution. Somebody look that up right now. Justina, you got that microphone, honey? Yeah. Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution. Okay? Or you can be alive, which is called in-full-life, L-I-F-E. Why do we hyphenate it? Do you know why we hyphenate it? I'm going to write down two numbers. 35. But wait, that's not how we write it on a check. T-H-I-R-T-Y-F-I-V-E. Is it the number 30 or is it the number 5? We have to connect it with the hyphen. In full life is one idea. That's why it's hyphenated if you ever write it down on a paper. In full life. Civiliter mortuus, or in full life. You're either alive or dead. That's the only status people have. Now here's the thing. Because we didn't come forward and claim our minor accounts, because Dad never taught us how, he's the one with the responsibility. Mom's the one that has the responsibility to put the letter of intent or the will, along with the registration that estate that they just created, they created an estate. Your birth certificate is a title to an estate and a minor account. Okay? Now, I'm giving you guys generic terminology. And as you learn more, you'll find that I'm giving you very basic interpretations so we can be on the same level of communication. Because you all haven't had the time to read as much as the national coaching team has, or me. And I have to speak the language that you can comprehend until you get to where I'm at and have read and comprehended as much as we have read. Does that make sense? So as you're digging into this stuff, especially tomorrow, you're going to hear Kiki using words that are so foreign to you that you have no idea what it means. Don't freak out. You will learn what they mean. We're going to teach you how to find them. Everything we teach you is available and open and in the public. And if you look at what we've been posting since April on the channel, we've given you clues. We've put up different treatise and white papers. We've put up different opinions from different law schools. Equity is where it's at. Now, Tia would argue with me right now. I love you, honey. I hope you're watching. And say, no, equity's their stuff. Well, it is their stuff, but it's the remedy that we have within their system. Because they have all the guns, and they have all the jails, and they have all the force upon us, because we don't know enough yet to put them back in the box. And restore natural law. Common law, natural law. So we have to operate in the system that we have, and yes, there is remedy there. So you have to link that together. Is everybody tracking with me? You guys are sticking with me? All right. Cool deal. So now, let's look at what we've been doing. Everything that we've done so far that David has taught us, I love that guy, by the way. Hope you're watching, David. Excuse me. I took some MMS this morning, and my nose is running a little bit. It's clearing me out. Should have did it last night, but we didn't have time. All right, so, excuse me. Could someone grab me a bottle of, well, I got enough left, yeah. Okay. So somebody looked up what? Did somebody look up, did you get the microphone? Yeah. Here we go. He put his hand up first.
Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution, full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state, and the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved and the effect thereof.
Fantastic. Now, I'm not picking on you, okay? I'm Bobby.
I'm Ethan.
You're Ethan. Okay, fantastic. Ethan, can I use this, what you just read, can I use that to teach the group? I'm going to be as nice as I can. Okay, folks, how fast did he read that? Really fast, right? Where's Michelle and Marcella? Okay. You read it so fast that most of it slid off the cracker onto the plate. So you're putting the cheese on the cracker, but you're going so fast like this that the cheese just, the meat and the cheese just slid off the cracker. Does that make any sense? Did you comprehend what you read? Yes. Okay. It's okay if you don't. It's okay if you don't. So read it again a little slower, give him the microphone, and we're going to break it down. This is how you guys, this is how I have to. This is what I worked with Marcella and Michelle and Scott a little bit on how to tear apart what they actually mean. So read me, go ahead, start.
Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state.
Pause. So read it again from the beginning.
Full faith and credit.
Pause. Full faith and credit shall be given. Who's the creditor? We are. If you've been studying diligently, you would have found out that you are. Proclamation 2039 and 2040. We are the creditor. Look in Title 15. No credit shall be denied, period, because we're the creditor. The only reason you would have credit denied is they're looking to see if you are going to make payments on the financing agreement. And your financing agreement is for the instruments that they hypothecate based off of the original transaction, which was your application giving them the authorization to create securities in your name of your estate. You are the creditor, and we have to have faith. So full faith and credit shall be given to the...
Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings.
Okay, pause right there. To the public acts,
records, and judicial proceedings.
And judicial proceedings. That's the full faith and credit clause. That means your name decree, your name order, and your executed, fully constituted trust shall be given full faith and credit in every other state that's a party to that Constitution. And how you prove the fact, there's something called proof of facts. Write this down. I don't think I posted that, but you can find this PDF. Nancy's got it in her library. I think she does. Her library was attacked, and she lost a large chunk of all the documents that we've been digging up for the last 2.5, almost 3 years now. 3 years worth of research. And somebody got in there and destroyed it. We don't know how it happened, but anyhow. So write this down. Look for what's called proof of facts. Okay? So how you enforce it is getting your order, your name order, getting your assignments, getting what you can, and you'll learn which ones you can and which ones you can't, which ones are public, which ones are private. But all your private enforcement that you do in the public, double authenticate it. If you get it at the state level, that's only enforceable in that state. Okay? Because only that state authorizes full faith and credit. And it's only $10 million. Now, when you take it to the federal level, all courts are federal. Kiki's going to talk, maybe you'll talk a little about that. I don't know if you're ready for that, if the group's ready for that or not. But you take it to what we know as the federal level, which is the Secretary of State in Washington, D.C., and then we get it, the second authentication. Now it's enforceable in every state. Why? Because the Constitution says so, and you're the creditor, and you're the settler. Okay? So the full faith and credit is a really big deal, so that you can walk around in any state. Okay? So that's, you can keep on going with that, but it's pretty short. I mean, we made our point. So when you break it down, what is a record? What is a public act? What is a judicial proceeding? You can look up those things, those words, and it'll be a whole paragraph, a whole article on just what that means. So that when you break down phrase by phrase, unknown word by unknown word, it gives you standing. And as you'll learn, as you start studying some of these things that we're going to start posting on the private chat, because we have to do this in the private, or it's going to be a private channel. I announced a while back that I'm going to create a private channel because a lot of this stuff can't be out in the public because it's confidential commercial information on how our government is funding itself for right now, until things change soon. And it's state secrets. Okay? So that's why I'm going to set up this channel here in the near future, and there's going to be a lot of things in there that you can read. So, proof of facts, get that and read it. It's how you prove your case. Now, one of the things you'll learn is that everything that we try to do, a lot of what we try to do is tied to the land, because the land is what we lost. We thought we won the war with England, but we didn't, because we gave it back to them. If you go and you read the Treaty of Versailles, which ended the hostilities at the time of our Revolutionary War, you will look at that Treaty of Versailles where all the British citizens and all the people who were loyal to the crown, whose lands were taken by the newly formed states, were returned to the British subjects. So it even goes back farther than that. How land was administered. Where do you stand to make such a claim? You know, so are you in full life? Are you alive or dead? You're alive. Where do you stand to make such a claim? Do you stand on land? Are you standing on statute? Are you standing on operation of law? Are you standing on settled matters of fact? So this is how we build our standing, is by that simple, a couple words that you said. When you break down and you know what is meant by public acts, records, and judicial proceedings, when you know what they are, you're going to find out things like a judgment settler and a judgment creditor. What does it mean to, if someone dies intestate? What does it mean to have a testamentary will or a testamentary trust? What do these things mean? You have to know these things for when you get to the point where you're executing. You don't have to know them, but you damn well better know them within a couple months of you executing and fully constituting your trust. If you don't know all the things that David taught us, it took me 1.5 years to learn those things so I could even comprehend what Kiki was trying to tell me. Now, one of the things that we're doing, and Kiki's really focused on this, is getting as many people out of harm's way as fast as possible. What that does is it sets up a potential catastrophe. When we do paperwork for them, when we walk in with them, when we make things happen with them, and they get their name and they fully constitute the trust, and now they're free. And we got to move on to help somebody else. If they don't study or haven't studied to what we just did for them, I'll guarantee you within 6 months they'll be right back to being civilly tier mortuus by their own hand. This is why if you get your name, this is why a PMA, like Marcella back there does, this is why a PMA is so important. Is men and women are meant to be in the private. By operation of law, your person is your public persona. And pursuant to the Fourth Amendment, how many of you have ever read the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution? Look up the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution right now. Look it up on your device. Fourth Amendment in the Bill of Rights. Okay? And let's break that puppy down. See, what we're doing now is we're breaking things down. I'm showing you how to build your standing so that if someone asks you, well, where do you have no standing, you can say, well, Your Honor, I'd like to rebut that presumption. I can speak to my standing. How much time will you give me? I can talk for 2 days or 10 minutes. Which one? How much time do you have? I guarantee you when I'm done talking, you'll know I have standing. So you have to know what to say. I was in court with a girl, and we took a 5-minute status hearing and turned it into 5 months. And the judge was so frustrated that he finally looked at the girl and he says, you'll get your constitutional rights when and if I decide. And then he says, I'm going to give you the courtroom. And I'm going to be quiet, and you're going to tell me what you know about the law and what your standing is. He took his glasses off and laid them on the desk, and he literally went like this. Put his arms or elbows on the desk and went. And the girl said 3 sentences and froze up. Now, I bought her 5 months to study. She said 3 sentences. And the judge still sat there like this. I'm watching the courtroom clock. 3 minutes goes by. And the judge goes like this. And she turned around, looked at me, and looked at him and went to the judge. He sat back up, put his glasses on. He says, well, now I've got to do what I've got to do. And he put her in jail. Because she had no standing. So look up the Fourth Amendment. Why did government create a person? Because we told them we had one. And that went against the Bible. The Word of God, if you read the Bible, we're not to take on persona. We are not to take on persona. We live on this planet. We're not of it. We're a creation of nature, and nature's God. The persona, it says, thou shalt not take on false persona. Something similar to that. I can't recall the exact wording. Okay, so what's it say on the Fourth Amendment? Are you ready? Justina? Somebody raise their hand who wants to read the Fourth Amendment. You're going to do it again? Okay. Here, how about that? Give it to that guy. Let somebody else. We're not going to put it all on you. Yep. Who raised their hand? All right, cool deal. Read it real slow, like, so we can grasp the words.
You got it. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation,
Yep.
sorry, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Thank you. So let's go back to that. What's it say? People are to be secure in their persons. We told government that we had persons, which was an abomination to God's word. And we also gave them the right to regulate commerce, which is why they made us all unincorporated corporations with the estate. Okay? We've never secured our persons. How you secure your persons? With a name. In proper style, and you come back into full life, and then you privatize your person. Okay? Houses, papers, and effects. It doesn't say property, does it? Because property is their word. Property. Warranty. It says effects because it makes you happy, and because your effects affects your life. And your person is to be secured. You have the right to secure your person. If you don't secure your person, they can and will use it against us, and they do. Because we've never paid the bills. When you come forward in full life, make the deposit, settle the account, boom, now you get what's left over. And you have more money than you ever need, if you do it right. Okay, you got anything you want to add?
I do. So we had a situation where I had a friend, and he was at a friend's house, and something went awry at the friend's house, and the police came in. And the police went around the entire room asking everyone for their names and their identification. And our particular friend who knew better says, "I'm sorry, my name is trademark protected. I do not authorize your use." And the cop said, "Excuse me?" And he says, "I'm sorry, my name is trademark protected. I do not authorize your use." And the cop says, "Okay, we'll get back to you." Went around everyone else in the room, got their IDs, started handcuffing them all. Came back to our friend and said, "Are you sure you don't want to give me your name?" And he says, "I'm sorry, my name is trademark protected. I do not authorize your use." And the officer says, "Well, in that case, thank you for knowing your Constitution." And he turns and he says, "For the United States of America Constitution." And he turns to him and he says, "You win today." And he let him walk out the door. Everybody else went to jail because it was a raid.
You have to secure your person and keep your name private. If your person's not secure, they can and will use it against us, and they do, constantly. Okay? So, I've been talking for an hour and a half, over an hour and a half. How did this morning go? Are you guys getting some new, yeah, okay. Are you guys getting some new information? Okay. Now, when we come back from the break, please keep it short. I got so much information to share with you. What do you want me to do? You want me to break down the steps of getting your name and how it fits into the overall things that we've been doing? Fantastic. Y'all ready for that? That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's take a 15-minute break. You guys ready for some more? All right, I won't compete with you for the room, so when you give me the room, I'll have it. Yeah. What?
Some people didn't know it's tomorrow too.
Yeah, guys, this is a 2-day seminar. Okay, what's that? Yeah, the 150 is for the whole weekend. Okay? All right. I'm starting on my 4th bottle of water this morning and still can't get enough water in me. All right, you guys ready? Yeah. You guys ready? Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Kiki, you guys ready? Okay. Okay, cool deal. All right, now, I wanted to say something and it just ran out of my mind. Oh, Kiki's got a table back here set up, and they've got some merchandise back there. It's Civilitier Mortus, From Being Dead to In Full Life.
Designed by Arrogant Prepper, who's
Yep.
not here today.
Designed
but
by
he's
Arrogant
awesome.
Prepper.
So he
Okay.
had a vision, and we put it from the vision into the solid world, and we put it on clothing, and it's over there.
Yep.
And if you see him, tell him that you're wearing
And
his
she's
stuff.
selling them at cost,
Yeah.
what it costs to make them. What's that?
Pistols and pistols. The only one we have right now is Ruby's wearing it, and you're going to have to fight her for it.
Okay. All right, cool deal. So I just got some good news. I can't share it with you. It made me very, very happy. Yeah, it made me very, very happy. Apparently something I said made the earth move for the one we love. Okay. So, what I'd like to do, Kiki, is have your help on this.
Let's do it.
When I get to the point of breaking down, I'm going to go across the board with the steps. And then I'm going to break them down. What happens sua sponte? What my mission is, Kiki's mission is simply to get you back to full life and get your inheritance. Okay, get it done. Get you out of harm's way. God bless her. My mission, yes. Now, David and I, our mission is to restore a constitutional republic. Okay? Now, yes. And the steps that David taught us was meant to do that in the public. Now we have a more powerful way of enforcing what we've done in the public. So everything we've done for that as part of the David's process is not wrong. It's in the public. And what I always felt was there was some enforcement there. How David and I enforce all the steps that we've done has been because we know a lot. And we know our standing, and we make our public employees do what we tell them by the words that we use, because of our standing, because of the research that we've done. And not everybody can do that, okay? Not everybody can be at law and win, all right? So a lot of these things that are in the public are, you didn't waste your time, okay? So I want to run them down. We've got the AOR is the first thing. The AOR, that's your affidavit of truth repudiation. Then you got your deed of reconveyance. That's the next one. Your deed of reconveyance, your AOR. Then you got your passport. Okay? So those things right there, you can still do them. When you get your name, your passport flips from public, all capitals, to private, okay? And you get a different passport, all right? So we do these things when we got our land patent, that has to be done. We got a PMA, you know. Give me some other steps, because I'm not going to spoon feed it to you. You got your what? MCO. You got your MCO. What else do you got? You got your trust. You got your will. You got your trademark. And the list goes on and on and on, doesn't it? Okay? Your MCO happens sua sponte. Your land patent happens sua sponte. The deed of reconveyance deals with the name, and that is something we can do through a deed poll or
Quitclaim.
a quitclaim. Quitclaim. So the deed of reconveyance and also the patent of nativity, which I have to put it up here. Patent of nativity. I'm just going to put a PON. Patent of nativity. What's that? Your declaration of non-corporate status. Yes. So if you're not a U.S. citizen, you're naturalized here, you can do a declaration of non-corporate status. Okay, so that's something that you can do. Remember, this is all for your person. It's all in the public. So the quitclaim deed, or in some states, it's called a deed poll. Deed poll is I'm going to use the word ancient. It's the old laws. How many of you guys watched John Wick 4? The last 30 minutes of that is all disclosure. How did John Wick get out of the system? He had to go back and get his family name. He had to get his proper name. Then he had his inheritance. Then he could use the old laws to challenge the system in a fight to the death. And he not only won for himself at the end of the movie, he won his family's freedom as well.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I just told you? John Wick 4, the last 30 minutes is full, unadulterated, it's just full right in your face telling you about it. Marvel's Avenger 4, when they were at war with each other. Captain America was at war with Iron Man, or arguing with each other, fighting. You're a criminal now, Cap. All Cap, or you're a criminal. Okay, so anyhow, let me get back on track, because that was a bunny trail. Okay, so your patent of nativity, that's your inheritance, your family lineage. That's DNA, that's evidence, okay? Where do you come from? Well, how far back you want me to go? All right, we're under English law. We're being administered by bar attorneys, British Accreditation Registry, which used to be the Barristers Club. And so everything we're doing right now goes back to the Vatican and at the time of the kings and queens when they held all the land. And there were landlords that were given titles to lands, but they had to be ministered, they had to pay a fee. And then there's landlords gave out titles for tenants. That's what we're all under right now, is tenancy. So your patent of nativity establishes your family line. Your deed of reconveyance takes control of all the public names. Your quitclaim deed and your deed poll is tied to the locus, not an address. We've learned about the locus. Where do you stand to make such a claim? Means you're standing. Locus, L-O-C-U-S. Okay? Where do you stand to make such a claim? Why does Kiki have us amend our deeds? Because deeds are to be recorded over time. They're done in reality by their own definition. See, there's remedy in the system. Black's Law 4th gives you a remedy in the system. We don't record those things. Really? Well, per the Constitution, we're to have what? Common law. The Constitution is the law of the land. The water courts of the Bar Association ain't land. It is not land. It is us being administered under presumption of death, under letters of administration, administering the titles tied to land rights. And this goes back hundreds of years, hundreds and hundreds of years, is how we got to this point where we're at. And it's all because we did not know what we were doing. We've moved away from God's law, which is the Bible. We've moved away from God's order. And we've given up by our own consent our land, our children, our rights, titles, and interests. It's time to get them back. What do you think? Yes. So where do you stand to make such a claim? Well, all this crap up here that you have construed into how to write my name, it all means something. So you put down every form possible. That's what we did in the public. We need to amend that, make it enforceable with a quitclaim or a deed poll tied to the locus, where I lay my head. Now, your locus is two different things. Your locus is not an address. your public persona person resides, and I'm giving you key words. What's a resident? What's a resident? Yes, it's someone located temporary. A residence is a temporary location to engage in commerce. We gave government the right to regulate commerce. Why do you think they construe everything to be commercial intercourse? Because we told them that they could do that to us. And we've never secured our person. That we told them we had the right to do under the Fourth Amendment, but we never did it. So they use it against us. So the locus is where a living man and a living woman is located, where you lay your head most of the time. An address, write down that word address right there. An address is not where you live. It's a spot on a zone improvement plan parcel number. Zip code is a zone improvement plan number. And I have two things, I'm going to call them things, where I lay my head. I have Rural Route 3, Box 76 of the United States Post Office that we the people created and authorized. Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, no zip code necessary. If you have to put a zip code down, you use the general delivery zip code for the post office that delivers your mail. That's not where you lay your head. So now, that's where my person can be contacted, is at that zip code. My rural route and box number is my locus. And if I'm lucky enough to have a deed on record, which I do, then that becomes further defined as the metes and bounds of the grantor simple, fee simple deed. There's also something I want you to write down to look up later. Liberty of Sizen. Livery of Sizen. My wife just told me. I can hear her. Livery of Sizen. Livery. So it's delivery, drop the DE. Sizen. S-E-I-S-E-N. Okay? Livery of Sizen is where land is granted from one sovereign to another. This is why your locus is so very important. Where do you stand to make such a claim? Now, do you really own that land, or are you just holding it in trust for the next generation? You see, we come in needing people to feed and clothe us and take care of us into this world, helpless. And when we leave this world, we come into this world naked and helpless, with nothing. When we leave this world, we have to be, when we're old, when we're aged, we have people that need to take care of us and bathe us, and we leave naked. Because this body is not what we are. We are light beings, and it's been medically proven 3 different ways. Nanotubulars are the fiber optic cables that are in your body. Look it up. Write it down. Nanotubulars in the body. If you don't believe me. Look up spark of life that happens when the seed of the man enters the egg. A bright flash of light happens. And then on the Discovery Channel, this year, a couple months ago, they've re-aired it a couple times, but they're talking about superhuman abilities. That's the episode you want to look up for the Discovery Channel. And in there, they have this guy that can control this machine without touching it. They wanted to know how he could control this machine without touching it, so they ran a bunch of tests on him. They couldn't figure out what it was. So they used this thing called a photon camera. Light is photons, in the form of photons. And they put this guy in a dark room and turned this camera on, and they were amazed. The thalamus gland and the pineal gland are the two brightest parts of our body that emit light is here and here. The spirit and the soul. And what's the difference between the spirit and the soul? The Spirit is the light. And it's like a box of crayons. The soul is the color of your spirit. And those two were where he emitted the most light. Most of us emit light out about 4 or 5 feet. This guy's filled the whole room. Okay? We are medically, scientifically proven to be light beings. Bioelectromechanical, frequency, vibration, and currency. What's that? Voltage, that's right. What's what I meant by currency? Voltage. This is who we are. We're only here for a temporary time. We come into the world naked, afraid, and helpless, and when we leave the world, we're naked, afraid, and helpless. Someone has to take care of us at the beginning of our life, and someone has to take care of us at the end of our life. We're only here for a short time. And I'm thinking about my grandparents, and I'm thinking about friends that I've lost. And my daughters and how fast they grew up. We're only here for a short time. So we don't really own anything. We just hold it for the next generation. And we have a duty of care to secure those things against these treasonous people that have taken what was rightfully done to finance the government we demanded, and they use it against us because they're evil. Not all of them, but far too many of it is evil. Far too much of it is evil. So it's our job to create heaven on earth, restore God's order. So your locus is very important. You'll find out how that ties together. The passport, that'll get updated. When you get your name and execute, you'll get a different one. Kiki, if she wants to talk about that, she'll talk about that. This is advanced stuff. Remember, this is not something that's, give yourself some time, okay, to learn this stuff. So the passport, you're going to get a new one. It's a different color, isn't it, on the cover? It's still blue.
The blue is general.
The blue is general. There's a special passport you get, okay? Your land patent. Now, your land patent is tied to one of our founding parchments and at the laws of our nation at the very beginning. The Northwest Ordinance and the agreements made that led up to that. So if you read the Northwest Ordinance and you start saying, well, it doesn't say that, it doesn't say this, it doesn't say this. How about all the papers that were agreed to and written and passed by the new Congress? Because, folks, George Washington wasn't our first president. George Washington was the first president of our constitutional republic, March of 1789. We had presidents before that, okay, under the Articles of Confederation. And that's still one of our founding parchments, as is the Northwest Ordinance, as is the Declaration of Independence, as is the Constitution for the United States of America, as is the original 12 amendments. Everything after the 12th Amendment was an act of a corporation and doesn't apply to a constitutional republic. It's corporate policy. Yes. And your land patent, for my mission, although your land rights are restored, how about we write that down? Okay? How about we get that on the record? Because when you get your name and you execute and you constitute that trust, you, the man, the woman, now make your own private law. Absolutely. The reason that law is used against us to administer us under letters of administration, being lost at sea at best and civilly tir mortuus, dead at worst case scenario, they administer it. Okay? And I was going to say something and it left my mind because it wasn't important. All right. The private membership association or private member agreement, I misspoke and said membership. What is a ship? Yeah, exactly. Now, you can be in the public and you can take command of all those ships, or you can land on the shore of America and burn them ships to the ground so there's no retreat. I'm burning my ships. I'm not going to retreat. So a PMA is a private member association or a private member agreement, and it's formed for the mutual benefit of all the members. And it's private. That's what private men and women, that's how we engage in free trade, and restore our constitutional republic. In the private, we have free trade. Only in public commerce can we be regulated with a corporation. Think of the word, corpse iteration, an iteration of a dead thing, corpse. So the PMA must be done. The land patent, it happens sua sponte. However, for my mission, let's get it on the record. Let's restore our land patent, okay? The private membership agreement, or private member agreement, excuse me, let's get one of them. If you're going to engage, whether it be a restaurant or a clothing store or something that doesn't involve a government agency, like you're a contractor and you build buildings and you work for the government building public buildings, well, then you got to be a corporation. But if you want to build people's homes privately, what the hell do you need a permit for? It's a private arrangement between you and the one you're building the home for. There's no need for inspections. Get your name, get your land patent, and build whatever in the hell you want. Okay, so now, the PMA and the land patent, if you're going to be a home builder. Set up a side business or send them to Marcella and do the land patent. And then the PMA, get yourself a PMA if you're building houses or if you're an electrician or whatever. I don't have to get a permit. I'm doing this for my buddy. They become your friend. And government can't interfere in private matters. They can regulate commercial intercourse, but they can't interfere in private matters. Now, your MCO, sua sponte, you have the right to travel. What you do is, when you get your name, Kiki, I love this saying. She says, when you get your name decree and you execute, she said, you spread that shit around like hot sauce at a barbecue. You sprinkle it on everything. Yeah. So you do an assignment to the transportation department. There's somebody in your state that is the head of the Department of Transportation. You do an assignment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have my right to travel. Make sure that your electronic records reflect that status as exempt. No law enforcement actions recommended at this time. You make them correct your status. I still have the plate, the state-issued plate on my truck. I still have the state-issued plate on my Mercedes-Benz S500. I love that car. Okay, and I love it. I'll pay them $35 a year so that when that policy agent pulls up and scans it, he says, oh, shit, and he disappears. I'm not kidding you, because it's corrected at the Department of Transportation, and the electronic record shows it so, because Lexus has populated the system. We've actually had one girl, before I knew all this stuff, she did her notice of superior title claim and right to travel, and she checked on her license plate, her registration, and it showed up as exempt. And she got her car out of impound. She was out of the system. She had a right to travel without correcting her name. Then she went and took the plates off her car. That's when she started having problems. And that's when she got arrested and got her car towed again. I'm like, why'd you take the plates off? It was exempt. She's like, well, can I go back and get them, re-register it and get them? Yeah, and do this whole process. You got to start over from the beginning. So she did that, and now she's traveling, and the police officers don't bother her. And she loves to drive 100 miles an hour for some reason. So your MCO happens sua sponte. Your right to travel is there. All you got to do is make the declaration, do an assignment. It's a simple notice or declaration that you have your right to travel restored. You do an assignment. That's why when you get your name order, I don't want to go down that road. You get your name order, and because that's later on. I'll go down to some more details. But you get your name order, and you have your bond, your certificate, your birth certificate, and then you execute, send it to them, do an assignment to protect your right to travel, period. Make sure that the digital records and that LexisNexis populates the system with your right to travel. Okay. A trust, 1,000% you got to do a trust.
Yeah.
1,000% you got to do a will. The trademark that we've been doing is in the public for engaging in commercial intercourse. We also have a way to privately trademark the proper name, don't we, Kiki?
Not only do we have that ability, there's an ability in the trademark USPTO that allows for assignments and
There's an ability to
enforcement.
trademark the what now? Say that again.
USPTO.
The U.S. Post Office.
No, the USPTO, Patent and Trademark
Oh,
Office.
okay, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
They allow for assignments. They also allow for a special form of enforcement by Customs and Border Protection.
Yep, Customs and Border
Customs and Border
Patrol.
Protection also has their own specific identification. Once you're enforced with them, you can go with them and get an enforcement at the federal level.
See, once you get your name and you execute, you can enforce all this stuff that we've been doing in the private. They will enforce it.
Yeah.
Instead of us having to enforce it with their standing, they will enforce it. The paperwork does all the work to make the assignment. Okay, and once you make the assignment, you fully constitute the trust. Now they have a duty to act. If they don't, it's breach of trust. Well, that's a felony. Okay? So you guys kind of got this. This is the big rocks of what we do. You got all that, right? So now what's the next question in your head? Let me guess. When do we get a name decree? When do we fully constitute the trust? When do we do the deposit? How do we do all that stuff? And the answer to all that stuff is you do it as soon as you're ready. As soon as you know enough not to hurt yourself. Once you start down the name decree path, you must complete it. And I think we have a year and a day to get it done.
You have a year and a day, what's called a writ of protection. They issue out a writ of protection for a year and a day for you to complete all of your documentation, complete the execution, and you're not subject to arrest during that time. Now, if you get your documentation, because alerts go up when you get your certification and your information, if you don't do it, then you're subject to being removed out of equity and placed back into the public.
Yep, you guys got that? Isn't it going to be nice to have our own private police force and our own private court where they actually work for us? Is that going to be nice? And yes, and we've got stories of people that's already, as a trial run,
Yeah.
what we've been working on at the national level. I'd love all the national coaches to stand up. If you guys are on the coaches of private name chat, please stand up so you can be recognized right now. Yep. These are your national team of coaches. These are your national team. Hey, how you doing, Lori? These are your national team of coaches, okay? Do what? Hold on. Did I open the floor for questions yet? One of the things, is this your first seminar with me? Okay. That makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. I love you, brother. You just made my day. I share with you guys, I'm the biggest asshole or the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. I'm a professional asshole when I need to be. I don't like to be, but yeah. Trust me, it's not easy putting all this stuff in your head so I can help people. I do as much as my brain will allow me to do. I'm trying to get better at being more patient. Okay. All right. So now, I hope I laid it out clearly that everything that David taught us, God bless him, thank you. David woke up a world. He woke up a nation. And David made it possible for us to expand on what he's done for the last 38 years to achieve his lifelong dream of getting people out of this system and restoring our constitutional republic. And it got us ready to receive the gifts of knowledge from Kiki. So God bless him for that. So now, let's talk about the two final steps. or they could be the two beginning steps.
I like
See,
that.
when you get your name decree is up to you. Because one thing is, if something doesn't happen automatically sua sponte in one of those steps, like our passport, we can go back and get a new passport. See, their rules we use against them, administrative procedures, it allows them and us to make mistakes. It's called a mistake of fact, an error upon the record. Now comes the corrections to the record, to the fact, blah, 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 blah. How you write your papers, you can correct all that stuff. So now, the first step is to read. And read and read and read and read and read until your eyes fall out. What do you read? Get your phones out or your device, and the state that you lay your head in, the state that you lay your head on most of the time, type that in. So mine would be Pennsylvania, name change, law, or statute, or title, whatever you want. You might have to try a couple different ones because they might have it keyed in there. Name change law, name change statute, name change order. Do a search and it should pop up. How many of you found it already? Fantastic. It takes, now click on it. There's your instructions. There's your instructions.
Does it say that?
What's that?
Does it say contact an attorney?
It says contact an attorney in the statute or in an article?
Oh.
Yeah, go to the statute. Find it. It's there. There's a case text is easy to find, state level statutes. Also, you may, certain states, you can find on law.cornell. Okay, so how many of you found it? Okay, the majority of you. That's good. So read that. Now, when you're starting to read that, like Marcel and Michelle, they started reading theirs the last couple days, and blam, ran through it. And we went back and we slowly broke it down, sentence by sentence by sentence. And guess what? The name petition, the supporting notice, wrote itself.
Yeah. Yep.
Because we read the instructions. And it talked about things like judgment creditor and judgment debtor. It talked about procedures. It talked about the elements of the supporting affidavit, if needed. And it talked about, and we looked up foreign judgment, okay? So now the next thing that you're going to look up, you read your state level name change. Do that, look it up. Find the code or the statute. Okay? Name change or name decree, okay? That's the first thing. Now, once you get the name decree, guess what? Now you're foreign to the corporation because you're a people. And you're not dead. The corporation's dead. And you're foreign because we are under martial rule right now. Not martial law, martial rule, being administered by the Bar Association. And everything's a corporation. And we're foreign to that. So you have to execute a foreign judgment. All right, so how are we going to do that? So you take your state level, same thing, F-O-R-E-I-G, a foreign judgment. I can't spell foreign very good. J-U-D-G-E-M-E-N-T. Foreign judgment. How many of you found that? Look up foreign judgment. Pennsylvania statute, foreign judgment. Or Pennsylvania rules of procedure, foreign judgment. Or Utah rules of procedure, foreign judgment. That's going to give you the state level. Okay? Now, I will share this with you. Some of the things that Tiki and I teach you, you can't find it written down. Why? because it's confidential commercial information and state secrets. How do Kiki and I find out this information? Because we go in and we ask them, and they start telling us at the counter. I talk to people in the government all the time. And when I found out that I could execute a trust and constitute the trust and turn it private, the Treasury guy I was talking to, he went, on the phone, he went, "Oh, shit." I said, "What?" He said, "You found the end of the rainbow." And then he proceeded to tell me things that are confidential commercial information and state secrets, because they want us to be competent and come forward and claim the minor account, claim the securities, and pay for the government that we the people demand. And then we're no longer administered. Okay? Now the judges, they have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the assets that are in the minor accounts. And their job is to run you through a crucible to test your resolve, to test your persistence, to test your competency, and to test your standing and ability to manage your own affairs privately. Their job is to test you because they must protect that minor account and all the resources that are in it. If not for you, maybe your son or daughter will be able to come forward as a kinsman redeemer. Write that down. Which is the next generation. Okay? So if we're incapable, incompetent, then they're going to fight us. At a minimum, even if you are capable and competent, they're going to test you. A minimum of 3 times. Okay? And that's at every step. I want to do a name decree. Really? Do you know what you're doing? Yeah, Kiki and Bobby said to do it this, this, and this. They're going to look at you like they looked at me and said, "Oh, wow, you know more than we do. Here, go over there." And it was wrong because they were testing me. Well, I did Pennsylvania like every other state. Well, guess what? It's not like every other state. All this I found out, Kiki already knew this, but she was smiling, waiting until I figured it out. I found out that every state might be different.
Yeah.
And there's local rules of procedure that might be different than the state rules of procedure. You can have a judge on a good day or a judge on a bad day. You can have a judge that's an asshole, or you can have a judge that's a nice guy. There's circumstances that change with each and every one of us. Some of us are in bankruptcy. Some of us are trying to get our kids back. Some of us are losing our house. Some of us can't make our car payment. Some of us, can't pay our electric bill. Some of us are homeless. And the way you execute your foreign judgment and the assignment that you do, and there might be some additional steps in there, are different. That's why this is so hard. That's why it takes so much time. I've watched both these young ladies, I've watched Kiki come to tears over people she didn't have the time to help. I've watched her come to tears over people that denied her help. And I've watched these 2 ladies over here work their ass off like nobody I've ever seen before. And they've stretched themselves pretty damn thin. And they've made some promises that are kind of tough to keep up with, but they're managing it. Because we've got a nation of people to save. The more of you that learn this, the more of you that go through this process carefully, on purpose, the more you can help other people, and the larger this movement grows, the more powerful we get, the more judges that will be smiling when someone walks in and says, "I'm here to get my name ordered and execute the trust, to claim my rights, titles, and interests, and settle the debt." And they send you a text message that says, "Perfect." I'm going to see one that's on my phone. And then they start helping you. When they know your intentions are true, and you're going to do things that are righteous, you're going to fund government, and you're going to help people, and you're going to stay the hell out of their public court system. When they know that's your intent, all things are possible. Okay? So look up foreign judgment, so Maryland foreign judgment, Utah foreign judgment, and read. Now keep in mind that there's things that are private that they won't tell you. There's things that are public. And then there's things that happen, there's ways that things happen within the system. You have the statute, the code. That is the intent of the legislature. That is not law. Code, statutes, and ordinances are not law in the Bar Association terminology of what constitutes a law. They think everything's a law. Well, it's not. There's three branches of government: executive, the legislative, and the judicial. You can't commingle the legislative and the judicial. The judge decides what the law is. How many have ever been in a courtroom and the judge says, or seen it on TV, I decide what the law is. This is my courtroom. Have you ever seen that? I see some heads bobbling up and down. Well, guess what? They're 1,000% correct because you're in there being administered. They don't give two shits what that code says. By operation of law, what's the interpretation of that? So you can read the code, statutes, and ordinances. You can read this stuff. But what's the operation of law? Where do you find that out? You find that out in Black's Law Dictionary. You find that out in the Bible. You find that out in Oxford, Old English, and what they're standing on to make such a claim. What are they standing on to make such a claim? And we're finding out through Kiki's help that it's old laws. It's Old English, Oxford.
Yeah. And
It's
American jurisprudence and
American
corpus juris
jurisprudence.
secundum.
Yep. American jurisprudence, corpus juris secundum. Because the judge takes what the legislature says, he looks at your particular situation. First thing he sizes up is, have you made anything on the record to create your own estate? Do you have an estate? Do you have a will, a trust? What have you done? What have we done to make our own law? And the answer before we met David and started down this journey was absolutely nothing. We went in, they told us what to do. Fill this out. You made a mistake. Go fix it. Here's another form. Sign there. Wait your turn. We're speeding. Give me your driver's license and registration. Okay. Admitting that you're engaged in commercial intercourse. So, of course, they're going to write you a ticket. Their job is to create causes of action and administer public policy. Because you're in the public. You just told them you were engaged in commerce as soon as you hand them the registration and license. What have we done to create our own law so that we stay out of their system? In their system, they will take these things and they will operate them by interpretation, and you'll have operation of law, which is case law, which is American, Tiki mentioned American jurisprudence. That's cases that have been adjudicated, which means an opinion has been rendered on the statute and code and how it's supposed to work. So this may say one thing, and the judge says yes, but this is how it's supposed to work. You have two court systems running at the same time. You have civil rights, also known as CIVIL procedures, and you have substantive rights or substantive law. And you can find that under the courts in the United States Code, under the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. And this is rule number 2. And it goes all the way down to the lowly magistrate court, which is a minor court. Because the magistrate court, because they're of Her Majesty's Secret Service, believe it or not. So anyhow, that was a joke. That was a James Bond joke. James Bond, if you're watching, God bless you. So anyhow, that's an inside joke. He knows who I'm talking to. So number 2 states that civil rights or civil procedure shall not be enlarged or diminished the substantive rights or the substantive law. So I want you to take out right now your phone and I want you to look up substantive rights or substantive law. Look up substantive rights. Take your phone out right now, substantive rights. Remember, this is running at the same time. And the moving party decides which one it is. You're either at law or you're in equity. And guess who gets to decide? The moving party, by the construction of your papers and pleadings. If you go in there citing statutes and ordinances and telling them where you found it, this number, this number, this number, you're at law. Right, Kiki?
That's correct.
I'm not telling them. If I get off track, you tell me.
You're good. Do your thing.
I give you permission to strangle me if I get off course.
Don't say that. No.
Okay? Yeah, throw a bottle of water at me if I get out of hand. So, or you're in equity. Does this make sense? Who found it? Who found substantive rights? Okay, you're on, Justina. Pick somebody.
Somebody raise your hand.
Yep. So I'm demonstrating for you, I'm walking through this with you on when you find something written down and you just keep on reading and you get to the end of what you read and you say, what the hell did that mean? How many of you ever done that? I do it every time I read some of their shit. What the hell did that mean? I'm dumb. I can't figure this shit out. Well, guess what? No, you're not dumb.
No.
Your brain is just like your muscles. If you go into a gym and you only pick up weights with one arm, I pick it up, I put it down. I pick it up, I put it down. The arm gets bigger. I don't know what happened. I pick it up, I put it down. The arm gets bigger, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. The same is true for your brain. You've got billions of neurological pathways, and most of them are turned off. When you stretch your brain, when you cram more in there, the ability of your brain to acquire knowledge, interpret knowledge, and roll it into what you already know through memory association, you get more mental acuity. You get more ability to contain the substance and the volume of what you read. And you can acquire knowledge and information faster than you ever before thought possible. The only thing we have to do is have the self-discipline to force our brain to turn itself on. Because everything's working against that. The graphene oxide, the 5G radiation, the wires that are in the wall are 60 hertz. That's why Buzz's tech is so important. I got 2 bracelets on, and I got a necklace on, making a triangle. Okay? If I didn't have this stuff on right now, I'd need a nap. Do I look like I need a nap? I shared a week with Michelle and Buzz and Marcella and a few other people prior to doing this seminar. And I didn't have my tech on. And what did I have to do every day at 2 o'clock, guys? I had to take a damn nap. So I was saving the tech for now, because I know when I have it off for a couple days, when I put it on, it's like I put it on for the first time. The first time was in Canadian Texas. Buzz put a necklace on me. And we were cleaning up. This is after a 3-day seminar. And we're cleaning up for the seminar. Now, usually at the end of a 3-day seminar, we're ready to clean up and go lay down for a day or two, because it takes a lot out of us. So When he put that on me, I felt like I drank 20 cups of coffee. I had 2 dust mops, 36-inch wide ones, and I'm dust mopping the whole thing, pushing them up and down the thing. And David's like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I got some tech on." He said, "Oh, okay, I understand." So we're under attack. Our brains are under attack. The food that we eat. The air we breathe. I was talking to a buddy of mine on the phone the other day, and he says, "You know that graphene oxide shit, that's real." He said, "I left a mason jar out on my patio," he said, "for a day or two." He said, I got up in the morning and they had sprayed us all night, and the chemtrails were, I could see them settling. They had been spraying them hard for a couple of days. And that mason jar was sitting there. He said, "I picked the mason jar up." He said, "It looked like it had something in it." He said, "So I'm going to go see." And he took the mason jar and put it in a microwave, okay, and turned it on. Guess what happened to the graphene oxide? It formed a little black ball down in the corner of the mason jar, about as big as a pea. Graphene oxide. Posted on the channel is the patent for how the graphene oxide can be manipulated by the 5G cell towers based on frequency and modulation. And they actually have pictures in the patent. It's 82 pages long. And they have pictures in the patent that was issued to the Rockefeller Institute. Imagine that. And it shows the graphene oxide being activated and dormant. When it's activated, it showed it next to a cell. And the cells communicate with each other through little tiny antennas. Yeah. And the graphene oxide was destroying the antennas that was on the cell. And they published it in the public and patented it. And told us what they're going to be doing to us with the graphene oxide and the 5G radiation. And we the people slumber.
Yeah.
And they do whatever in the hell they want to us. The food, the air. They're trying to kill us. Watch Bill. How many of you have seen Bill Gates' bullshit that he's been putting out there? We have to decrease the population. How many of you seen the truth come out of Kamala Harris's mouth about the depopulation? It's all over Telegram. So anyhow, I say that little bunny trail. Amy's got some tech. Buzz has got some tech. Elise has got some tech here. Okay, that reverses all that crap. We're supposed to say might be helpful. Well, here's what might have happened to me. I had a big old rash on me. I didn't know what it was. It was this big on my side, and it was all across my belly right here. I had it for a year. I thought it was poison ivy. Year! I got on that bed. She turned it on. My back was in pain. There's no pillow. It's just flat.
Yeah.
And you ever laid flat on the floor and your back, if you ever laid flat on the floor with no pillow or not, your back hurts. Yeah? I got on that bed, my back was killing me. I'm like, I'm never going to make it through an hour and a half. And I'm all scrunched up like this. My gosh. An hour and a half later, my back didn't hurt. I felt like I smoked like a joint this big around and about that long. You know? And I'm like, man, this is awesome. Can I take one of them home? Well, they cost 35 grand. Well, not today, I won't. So anyhow, and I woke up the next morning, and this rash over here that I had for a year, and across there, it's been there for a year, I thought it was poison ivy, it was gone. So that might have helped me. I don't know. I know I can't wait to get back on that thing, if we have time. So anyhow, I say that for a reason, and we went down that bunny trail because we have to do these things to counteract the shit they're doing to us, to make us complacent. Okay? You guys got that? Okay. Now, read. Only after you read and you do your research, you find out what that word means. Like foreign judgment, they're going to talk about something called the judgment settler. They're going to talk about something called proof of service. They're going to talk about the judgment creditor. You have to look up what those things mean. If there's a definition for that statute, go and read it. And don't stop there. Okay? Judgment settler. Well, you're the creditor, the judgment creditor. You're the creditor. And then there's the judgment debtor. Who's the judgment debtor? Who owes all the debt? Your person does. It's construed to be you, one that owes a debt to the United States. But when you have your proper name, you're not the debtor anymore. Your person is. We had one guy get his name, and he was freaking out over something he had. It was an IRS issue. Oh my God, oh my God. Okay. That's not you. That's the thing. We had another guy that had a similar situation. He was freaking out about it. He goes in to get his name. He says, I don't think they're going to give me my name. The clerk says, why do you think that? And he says, because I got a felony for taxes or something that they wrote up. And you know what the clerk told him? Nobody cares. That was what? That was forked tongue. Nobody cares. Your person doesn't have a body. How many of you have I posted on the channel a while back, who's on first? Yeah. Who's on first? What's on second base? Nobody's in left field. I don't know is on third base. And that little skit, well, guess who nobody is? Your person, the all capital name. Nobody cares. The clerk was telling this guy that that's not you. There's a man standing in front of me. That debt is owed by the person, and you're here to settle it, right? So nobody cares. So your name on the record is Robert Lee Lawrence Jr. And the name you're requesting is Robert Lee Lawrence Jr. There's no reason for a name change. Can you tell me why you are here? Because I don't see anything here. There's nothing here. Well, Your Honor, nobody's not here. I am. Which I am. Read your Bible. Read your Bible. I am here as a creation of nature, nature's God. That thing that's over here, was a lot funny. This was a lot funnier when Kiki and I did it. We just did it without rehearsing it at the coaches' chat. But that thing, Your Honor, there's two different distinctions. And then they're going to come back. They might come back with something like, well, it has no legal significance. So guess what I did? I dug into what had legal significance and what didn't. And if you go to the American Bar, if you do an internet search right now. Proper name. Proper name. Ooh. Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, you put me on. Proper name. Let me see. I'm going to see if the Bar Association. Proper noun. Well, look at that. A name used for an individual person, place, or organization spelled with initial capital letters, e.g., Larry, Mexico, Boston. Well, does that make sense? Well, here's Merriam-Webster. Now, we're going to look at Merriam-Webster because I'm going to show you why it's important to look at Merriam-Webster. So look at this. A proper noun. So I did a search for proper name and a proper noun showed up. What does it mean? It's plural, proper noun, synonymous of proper noun, a noun such as Seattle, Joyce, or Empire State Building that designates a particular being.
Ooh. Ooh.
Or thing. Well, Joyce is a being, Seattle is a thing, Empire State Building is a thing, and does not take a limiting modifier. If something doesn't take a limiting modifier, Guess what that means?
Unlimited.
It's unlimited. It doesn't have a Mr. in front of it. That's a limiting modifier. It doesn't have citizen Robert Lee Lawrence Jr. It's just simply Robert Lee. My Christian name. My family name is Lawrence. My patent nativity goes clean back to 1423 when my family received their coat of arms and land rights and titles. I'm just here to collect my inheritance to my land rights and titles. And guess what? My family lineage, denoted in my patent of nativity and my coat of arms, goes back to 1423. When was this court born? I'm sorry, it wasn't born. It was created, a legal fiction, because it's a corporation. Would you like me to give you the Dun & Bradstreet number? You see, they have no standing. They have no personam jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You can have subject matter jurisdiction and personam jurisdiction. You can go into court in rem or in propria, personam. These are things you guys got to learn. You got to study. How are you going into law? How are you going into court? Tia and I didn't know just a month and a half ago, that we could have chose which court we could have went into, the equity court, the orphans court, or we went into the at-law court, the court of common pleas. We didn't know that we could have chose at-law or in equity. It says civil action, and you can choose in Pennsylvania at-law, you can choose mandamus,
Oh, yeah.
you can do civil law - mandamus. That's an option in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They love them.
They do.
Okay? Or you can do civil action in equity. Why in equity instead of at equity? Because at law never is law. It's not trying to get at something. It's trying to get at you. But in equity, in law is reality.
Yeah.
Okay? So look at this. This is pretty cool. Down here, it says called also a proper name. Now you want to know the kicker part about this? Guess which organization says that this is the official definition of a proper name?
The Bar Association.
The Bar Association. It's right on their website.
Wow.
It says at the Bar Association, and it's posted. If one of the admins could find where I posted that and forward that to the channel. It's the Bar Association. I did a screenshot right from there. And it says, under construction section, construction law, see, we think it means we're going to go build a house. No. Construction law is forked tongue, isn't it? Well, it's not construction law and go to build a house. It's the construction of your papers at law or in equity. It's the construction law. How you construct your papers, pleadings, and filings. And they say, the Bar Association says that the Chicago Manual of Styles, or the Chicago Styles Manual is the proper word, the Chicago Styles Manual is the first reference. Merriam-Webster's dictionary is also a reference. Also, see Britannica Encyclopedia for lists of proper names. And then it says that your legal papers should be double-spaced in Times New Roman, font size 12. And it goes on. So the British Accreditation Registry, the Bar Association, of which every judge and every attorney has a membership card. And that's their rules. So there is no legal significance. Bullshit. Why? Because the Bar Association says so. The problem I had was I was in the wrong court making a claim of equity. And they are, in Pennsylvania, They are statutorily handcuffed to where they can't move because I started off in the wrong court and I started off at law. Does that make sense? The judge's hands were tied
Yeah.
because they have to follow the rules. And the rules are either going to work for you or against you. That's why it's important to know what they are. I now know this because I made a mistake of what I read, because I hadn't read enough. All right? So, let's look at what the Chicago Styles Manual, I'm further going to prove the point, so let's go look here. Chicago Manual of Styles, personal names, Chicago Manual of Styles, section 8.3. Chicago Manual of Styles is posted on the channel for free, okay? Folks, we've got a library posted on the channel and in some of the other chats that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars if you had to go buy them, and we've posted them for free. We've taken almost 3 years to come together with all the stuff that we've dug up, and we post most of it for free. And then we get people that bitch about having to pay $150 for a seminar. It should be free. Well, it is on the channel. It is free. How do you think we learned? Kiki, it cost us a lot of money to learn things we know, don't we?
Absolutely. Money,
It cost
time.
us a lot of nights of crying our eyes out and living in fear, not knowing what was next day was going to bring. It cost us time with their families. It cost us money beyond calculation. It cost us deeply to get the knowledge that we have. And we share as much as we can for free on the channel without getting ourselves locked up in prison. So it goes through my skin when someone doesn't read it. It cuts me like a knife when someone comes on there and complains because why do we have to go to another seminar? You don't have to. Start reading. Pay the price we did, and you'll find out seminars are really good value. So there's Chicago, proper name, personal names, additional resources. Well, that's all it is. That's general principles. That's personal names, all right? So let's go back here. Let's go to contents, all right? Let's scroll all the way up. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this. I told you we were going to take some time. Chicago Manual of Style, all right? Bloomberly, Bloomberly, Bloom. This is the latest edition, 2017. Look at all these topics on how to write stuff down. Now, the Bar Association told them that this is what they're going by, right? I should go and find it. Was anybody able to find that?
8.3.
Was anybody allowed to find that, or did anybody find that link to the bar?
Yes, I posted it, Bob.
Oh, you posted it?
Yeah, it's up there. It's
Oh, fantastic. At least is our rock star. How about it? Okay, so let's deal. Looky there. All these different things. 8.3, names, terms, and titles of works. Overview. Personal names, 461. Holy cow. So let's go to 8. There we go. 8.3, personal names. Look at that. See how easy this is to look at this stuff up? Personal names. For names of well-known deceased persons. Whoa. Chicago generally prefers the spellings in the biographical entries of Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary. Let me show you it again. Right there it is. That's Chicago Manual of Styles. So now let's go look at something else. Hold on just a second. We're going to go to the channel. And we're going to look up where I told you earlier. Thank you so much, Elise, for posting that. Okay, so we're going to go to the channel. You posted, hold on. Boom. Style Guidelines, Chicago Manual of Styles. Were you able to find the link that I posted for the Bar Association?
I posted the whole PDF.
Style Guidelines, is that from the bar?
I think so. Yep. It's what I had labeled it.
Okay. Here it is, right from the Bar Association. There you go. The link is down here. So you can cut and paste this link, which is what I'm going to do. Watch. Because Bobby said so, ain't going to cut it. Okay? Paste. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Style guideline. Okay. So what does it say? Tips and guides for book manuscripts, right for your audience, blah, blah, blah. Take care with style and language. Our standard reference books are Webster's Collegiate Dictionary for spelling and hyphenation, Chicago Manual of Style for style, punctuation, and capitalization matters in writing text, as well as general rules of book marketing. Uniform System of Citation, which is the blue book. Well, we're not citating it. Elements of Style, blunk, blunk, blunk. Note that blue book rules apply only to citations. Then it tells you, following traditional publishing practices and manuscripts, preparation, 8.5 by 11 white bond paper, that's bond weight paper, print or type on one side only, double space everything, blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on and on and on. So you see, and right here's the citation. See where it says? It's americanbar.org/groups/construction industry. Now on the website it says construction law. Construction industry, about U.S. rules, procedures, style guidelines. Construction industry. Does anything on this page look like it's dealing with building a house? It's the construction of the written instrument.
Yeah.
And why is it industry? Because it's commercial. That's my interpretation, wouldn't you think, Kiki?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Construction of trusts is in
So
probate.
this is what they're telling us. This is what they're telling us. So where is my other thingy? Proper noun. Let's go to that one. Okay, so you see here, now this is what they're Merriam-Webster. Proper name. Are you guys getting this? Can you see how you break things down by what you type in the search engine? The problem I've had all my life until 3 years ago was I didn't know what to type in the search bar. But if you go do this kind of stuff and you break it down like I showed you, what is it? Foreign judgment. It's going to have judgment creditor. What does that mean? Now do an internet search for judgment creditor. Do it. Because it's in there, I'd guarantee you. Do an internet search for judgment creditor and see what it says. You see, I could do this the rest of the day, just walking you through one statute. Just the name code, I could spend 2 days on. Just the foreign judgment, I could spend a week on that. Am I lying, Kiki?
Absolutely not.
Okay? My job and Kiki's job is to show you where to find, how to interpret, how to look it up, how to turn your brain cells on and make them work for you. That's our job. And inspire you to go out and change the world. All right? So, I'm speechless. I don't know where to go next. This shit's so easy. Once you get it down, it's like pushing a big rock up a hill. When you get to the top of the hill and you're like, whew, and then you go to lean on the rock, take a drink of water, and now you can't stop it as it rolls down the other side. It actually becomes fun if you're rolling snowballs down the hill with your buddies. So anyhow, you looked up judgment creditor, right? How many of you found it? Anything you find in any of these instructions, I call them instructions. I don't care that they call them a statute or code. They're actually instructions on how to get out of their system. And once you start reading and breaking them down, you can't stop. You want out as fast as possible. And that's where we're going to talk about when we come back from lunch, is how to move through the steps. I'm going to go into more detail of how to go through these steps safely with a duty of care so you don't wind up in trouble. All right? All right.